Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it right here with us on NAC-TV. I'm Eoin Devereux, news reporter and permanent host of the Story Behind the Stories. So I appreciate you taking the time. Joined this week by Casper, Wehrhahn, reporter with the Banner Press.
Good to be here again for this week's paper, and I said before we got into the show but we have a good selection of different things that was going on for the past little bit here that we got in the paper, so very excited to go over that this week.
Not too bad at all. A nice variation, as Casper said. But the interesting thing is, even with that nice variation of all the different stories, we got about 5 pages worth of Neepawa 4-H stock show and sale. That was a huge event that went on in this week, and we're very appreciative. Ken Waddell, of course, the owner and operator of the Neepawa Banner Press, was able to get out there. It was happening as we were finalizing putting our paper together, so we appreciate it, and we do have a lot of appreciation. You probably can't get a good look at it from this perspective, but that's why you need to pick up a physical copy of the Banner Press and see it close up with your own eyes. All the photos on the front page, courtesy of Prairie Pistol Design. Some amazing looking pictures that really tell a story unto themselves. When we came up with the headline, 4-H members believe in giving back, it was Ken Waddell actually who came up with it. I was having difficulty myself coming up with something creative. We want that type of headline that's just going to jump out at you and sort of draw you into the story. And we were having some difficulty with it. And Ken just, like that, was able to snap something up. And then we had the pictures sent to us after the actual headline had come together. And it was like, I saw the pictures, it was like, this is kismet. This is exactly what we needed, because those pictures, even under themselves, tell the story of the headline about how important it is for 4-H and how significant they are as an organization. They want to be able to give back. These young people giving back, sharing information with the next generation of 4-Hers. And it was just, Casper, as far as I was concerned, it was just like, it was 2 and 2. It was 4. It equaled 4.
Yeah, exactly. No, it came together so well, and just the shots that Prairie Pistol is able to get really just helps to build upon and show the story that is going on at 4-H there. And it's a very diverse group to be able to have in the community. They do a lot of different things. The big thing that we see every year, of course, is the Fat Stock Show and Sale, and it's always a great big event with a lot of interesting things going on, I feel. And it's always great seeing younger people getting introduced into this sort of thing as well.
That's right, very much so. Obviously, we are a growing community, but we are also a rural community, and the rural aspects of agriculture, cattle, anything along those lines, very significant still and near and dear to a lot of us in the area. But like I said, we always try and do a front page that's going to be dynamic, is going to grab your attention, and we were having trouble. We couldn't figure out a way to make the 4-H whole concept just jump out at you. And we feel pretty proud about what we were able to do with that. And a large part of it, as we said, Prairie Pistol Design, what they were able to capture, that's the big thing. A picture is in many ways worth that 1,000 words. And we got about 3,000 words aside from Ken Waddell's words on the front page, and we're a little proud of that. If you go in as well, it's further pictures from the stock show and sale you can find on page 18 of this week's edition of the Banner Press. It's a 20-page paper, and a lot of good, interesting pictures in there, including a few from a little further down the road. I had an opportunity during the weekend to head down to Carberry for the 138th annual fair and races. That's an event that they are very proud of in that community. And this year being the first year I've actually been there in person, I gotta say they got a reason to be proud of it. It was an amazing setup they had there. I went down to the Ag Society grounds, was able to find decent parking despite the mass of people that were there. So I was able to get some pictures from the rodeo aspect of it. From the fair aspect of it, there were so many different fun activities for family, for kids, and it was variable in terms of the ages. It wasn't down there as like, oh God, I'm going to be so bored. I'm so and so age. I'm so bored. No, you can find something down there that piques your interest. And I got to say, it was really well put together. I'll be honest with you, Casper. I mean, it was the weekend, and it was like, I'd much rather be sitting around doing nothing, or maybe mow the lawn or do something like that. I need to do laundry or something like that, But I took the time. I went down there for several hours, and it was like, okay, I'm glad I did this. I'm glad I'm able to share this with you this week. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good type of event to have going on in communities. That one good staple thing that really sort of works for a variety of age groups, and because it's a very interesting event to be able to attend. I haven't gone down to it myself yet to this specific one, but I've been to other shows similar to this, and it really is interesting for a variety of age groups. So really awesome that they were able to hold it again this year, and that it went off so well again. This is a big event for Carberry, so really great to hear that was so well received again.
That's right. It's on page 14 of this week's edition of the newspaper. And I was just talking a little bit about that, and that's the reality of it. I mean, a job like this is not a standard 9 to 5. It's not a standard 40 hours a week. In the grand scheme of things, over the course of an entire year, some weeks might work 35 hours, 34 hours, and other weeks you might work 50, 55, 60. It's just the way the situation dictates. And this was one of those weeks where not just myself, spending that extra time out and about, but it was also yourself, Casper. You had a couple evening editions, as it were, of going out and covering a few interesting things. Both of which, actually, off the top of my head, over at Kinsman Courts 2.
Yes, they were both at KK2, so that made things a bit easier on my part, especially with the fairly close time spans there. But they were both on the evening of July 5th, and the first one that we're going to talk about here is actually a group of motorcycle enthusiasts that came to Kinsman Courts 2 in order to show off their bikes, not just to residents, but anyone else who wanted to drop by. The Westman Motorcycle Enthusiasts group made a drop by there that evening, and there was a good number of people and bikes there, I have to say, a wide variety of sort of different types and brands, and I don't really know anything about bikes myself, but I always have a good time looking at them, and so I was quite fascinated at this.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's very interesting. Kinsman Courts 2 and the administrators there have done such an amazing job of organizing these types of fun, festive events in varieties throughout since they've opened up. So it's great to be able to see that. And again, the whole motorcycle thing, it's like, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I learned way in my stupid youth, didn't even wear a helmet because you didn't need to at the time, but I learned how to drive a motorcycle when I was about 18, 19 years old. It was an old, like a 1979 or 1980 Honda, just a basic cruiser type thing. I drove a motorcycle like 2 or 3 times in my life, and I've completely forgotten it. But I do remember the first time being like, oh geez, oh geez, oh geez, no, bring it back. But by the last time, it's just like it turned into a bit of a rhythm. You're still nervous about it, but it was like, okay, shift that on all that stuff. It's a little like driving in Europe, I say, in that it's very similar to using a stick shift, a clutch, or something like that. But it's different. It's much. Yeah. It's like all the things you learned in a car, you have to sort of change in a motorcycle. And again, I can understand why people might think that is a lot of fun. I haven't been on one since I was about 20, 21 years old, so that's a long time ago. but I can understand why people do that. And you see it in Neepawa, all the familiar faces. They get the bike out, and of course helmets now. You got to wear the helmets. That's a good idea. Probably should have done it back in the day as well. But I can understand that sense of just open freedom and just to be able to head down the highway and head down the road, something like that. So it seems like it's fun.
Absolutely, yeah. And, obviously with a lot of things, it takes time to get used to it, but then once you get used to it and you get going, it's probably like second nature almost. And this was great as well for the other aspect of it, is that Kinsman Courts 2 was also planning a little bit of something to support Dream Ride for this year that week as well. So this sort of lined up really well with that. They had a little bit of a smoky cookout there as well. I unfortunately didn't grab one. I already ate, but they smelled delicious. They were all cooked up by the chef there at Kinsman Courts 2. So there were smokies there, and you're able to support Dream Ride as well. So that was fantastic. It was really great that the motorcycle club was able to come out and join them for that.
Well, if you're not interested in 2 wheels, though, fortunately, they had 3 wheels as an option in terms of this little unique little piece of mechanism. It was almost like a tricycle rickshaw type amalgamation.
Yeah, so this was another fascinating thing to see sort of in the works. We'd covered this before, but there is going to be, or I should say there is now, a Cycling Without Age program in Neepawa. There's a Neepawa chapter for that. And they did a demo at Kinsman Courts 2 that same evening that the motorcycle group had come out to visit. And yeah, the bike, it's got 3 wheels, and it has sort of like I'll call it like a carriage, I guess. You'll be able to see photos of the bike on page 8, so be sure to get a look at that. But best I can describe it, yeah, it's got 3 wheels, 2 in the front, 1 in the back, and there's a sort of like carriage, I'll call it, on the front where passengers can sit, and then a driver is able to pedal the bike, which is assisted by a battery, if I remember correctly, to take them around the town, wherever they would like to go, pretty much. So there was a good number of people, actually, that were signing up and willing to participate in the demo, which was great to see. I know some people, while I was there, they were kind of nervous. They weren't quite sure. But once they got on there and they did their loop around and came back, there were just such big smiles on their face. They had a great time, and I could see the look on people's faces too after like sitting back and watching a demo, that they were just like lighting up, like, oh yeah, I want to get in on that. Me next. So that was fantastic. You know
what was fantastic, and what I liked about this one as well, is that it's a 2-seater. So you're able to go with a friend or your significant other, sort of, and take that run as well, which is a great little sort of during the spring and summer sort of endeavor.
Yeah, absolutely. You get to have some company on there with you, and that's just what I saw at the demo as well. Anyone who didn't have necessarily a friend or a partner to go with on hand there, they were able to go with someone else that stepped up and was available. There was actually a couple kids there that were like, I'll go with you. So there was some nice accompaniment that way as well.
That's great, because I remember, this is way back, this was about maybe 13 years ago now, when I was working for a radio station in Portage La Prairie. We also did video stuff as well on the website Portage Online, and they had set something up in Portage La Prairie about 13 years ago, something similar to this, but it was only a 1-seater. And I went out and I got all the information, did the stories for the radio, did the video as well, and just near the end they said, do you want to give it a go? And I kept going, I don't know. And then it was finally, I thought about it like, this would be a great outro. This would be a hilarious outro. Because again, back then, helmets were mandatory, so they put a helmet on this helmet of hair. And where I used to work as well was mandatory shirt and tie for every individual, every male individual. So I was in a full suit as well. So the outro, and maybe you'll still be able to find it on Portage Online, on CFRY's website, their YouTube channel. I hope not, but and you just see me strapped in, because you got to be strapped in, and doing the outro in a full suit, nice tie, big helmet, for CFRY Portage Online. I'm Eoin Devereux with my radio voice. And then they just pull away. I'm sorry, as I was doing the editing in the editing bay, it was just the most hilarious thing. It was shot from a right angle there, and just full serious newscaster voice, full serious newscaster look, furrowed brows. There's this serious stuff going on here today. And it was just hilarious. But like I said, it was just a one-seater as well, which made it even more funny. And what even actually made it even more funny than that is the person that was pushing it was much smaller than I am. I'm about 6 foot, about 220, and was probably around still about 6 foot, probably about 200 back then. And this person was about 5'6", 5'7", about 150 pounds, but they still were able. It took a second to sort of get going, but they were still able to get going eventually.
Oh gosh, that's one of those things where in the moment, if I was in your shoes, I don't know if I'd be able to do it and keep a straight face. And oh man, definitely editing footage after the fact, I would be cracking up so hard.
Oh yeah. But again, that's part of the job. This job can be a whole heck of a lot of fun sometimes. Sometimes it can be stressful, but fortunately for the most part, the good outweighs the bad. Let's shift gears. Let's get back into the conversation of what we've got on the pages as opposed to what we got on YouTube from about 13 years ago. And let's talk about a new tradition that is developing in Neepawa in terms of Neepawa Tourism's annual Makers Market. It's turned into a great showcase for artisans, craftspeople from all over Manitoba. They converge here on Neepawa during the summer for 2 days, and they sell their wares, and we try and bring in people from all different communities, not just for Neepawa, although it is something fun for people, residents of Neepawa, but we hope that it brings in people from all over other parts of Manitoba, welcome them to Neepawa and sort of see what we have to offer. This year they're going to be doing it again. I had an opportunity to speak to some of the organizers. Jeff Descenders, one of them, and he was able to get back to me, sharing some details on it, how there's going to be it's about a 50% new in terms of artisans, craftspeople that are going to be participating in this year's event. Because that's the big thing. You want to be able to have your traditional people coming back year after year, but you also want to be rotating, bringing in new people, because that keeps it fresh. So they're very optimistic about how that's going to be able to sort of bring in some new people, maybe sort of seeing things for the first time. And I do wish them well on that. If you're a consistent viewer of the story behind the stories, you know I was a board member, was a board president for Neepawa Tourism for a few years there. So I do wish them well on that. I want to see them succeed and bring that spotlight and that attention to Neepawa that I think it most richly deserves.
Absolutely, yeah. I hope it develops well and continues to develop well. I know the past markets have gone over pretty well there, so hoping that sort of trend continues. It sounds like they have a few different vendors this year. Well, actually, more than a few. So that should bring in, I hope, a good variety of different things this year, because that's what you want at something like this. You want a good variety of different things to draw people in.
You know what I like about the Makers Market as well is that once the bills are paid, there is an admission fee. It's not too much. I think it's about $5, I think. But once you pay the admission fee and you're in there, the money that is collected from the admission fee, once all the bills have been paid, it's all given to a local group that is in need. The last 2 years, it's been given to the Neepawa swimming pool to help with the planned upgrades. It was about $8,500 combined. Those 2 years that was able to be donated by Neepawa Tourism to the swimming pool project. An amazing amount of money. This year, because the swimming pool project is sort of almost done. They're sort of wrapping up this round of it. They're going to be focusing on Arts Forward Cultural Center, a great facility, a great sort of activity hub for Neepawa that always could use that little bit of extra help. So since it is for the most part volunteer run, that's a lot of things in this town, volunteer run and volunteer operated, but that Arts Forward is another one. So whatever is brought in from the admissions is going to be going directly to Arts Forward for their projects and whatnot. So I love that they're trying to spotlight the town of Neepawa in terms of Maker's Market, and I love that they see the broader value and want to help out these other groups.
Absolutely, yeah, that's something that you definitely want in your community. Any way that you can support local businesses to help them continue to thrive and develop, get upgrades, etc., that is a key thing to keeping your community vibrant and diverse. And the Art Center is a great way to, I think, support that. It does a lot of different things in the community, different programs, etc. So I think that's a great selection for this year.
Neepawa has such a great and diverse artistic sort of community, whether it's writing, whether it's drawing, whether it's painting. And in our next story, there's an individual that has all of those rolled into one and is sharing that with you in terms of a new children's book. I'm talking, of course, of Delcy Martin, who is a contributor as well. A monthly column on mental wellness for individuals that we put out there at the start of every month now. She has come up with a new children's book, her first book actually. So we were very pleased when she was able to tell us about it, share a copy of it before it was released so we could go through it. And it was great to be able to share the book, How Much Do I Love You? It's a book about sort of a parent, a caregiver, expressing how much a child means to them. And it was a wonderful little story. It was a wonderful little sort of interpretation, and it has a hidden message in there as well, a stronger message of ensuring that children understand that it is okay to express themselves. It is okay for them to express their emotions. Because again, perfect example is I'm an old Irishman, and again, the old Irishman, the old gimmick is that you don't express your emotions. You don't do that. That's just the way it was back in the day, and that's not healthy. That's, for the most part, that's not healthy. Children should be able to express themselves in a free way, in a positive way, and this teaches them, and quite honestly, I think maybe it teaches the parent as well, that it's okay to say yes, to say I love you. That's a great lesson to move forward on. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. It was great sort of learning about this book and the story behind it as well. And yeah, just as you said, it's important for people, whether you're younger or older, if you're a parent, a child, whatever, that you do know that it's okay to, express how you're feeling positively and all that stuff, to reach out if you need help and all of that. So it's not something that people should be afraid to do or perhaps ashamed maybe, because I know people can struggle with that, and that's something that Delcy has often talked about in her columns as well with us, about a bunch of different topics really. So congratulations, Delcy, on getting this book out, and I hope it does well.
All right, now I'm going to turn into complete commercial mode right now for you. Delcy Martin's new book, How Much Do I Love You, can be found. It is available on Amazon. So if you're interested, just go onto your Amazon app or website or whatever they do, nowadays with that technology, and check it out. How Much Do I Love You? Punch that in, Delcy Martin, punch that in. You'll be able to find it, and it's part of the Amazon, hopefully, in the near future, the Amazon bestsellers list. So we're very appreciative she was able to share some of the details, and we're so happy to be able to share those details with you. All right, we've got a few minutes left. Probably going to have to cut it a little bit early. Got a couple appointments I've got to take care of today after we're done here. But just really quick, just going to talk a little bit of sports. Earlier this week, it was the Neepawa Golf and Country Club held their annual Senior Open. It's an event I try to attend each and every year and share the details with you. This year, I have to congratulate a former Neepawa resident who now resides in Winnipeg and just barely over the edge for the senior criteria. So senior criteria, I guess, is, Casper, it's 50. So, oh God, I can golf in the Senior Open now if I want to.
Congratulations,
oh,
Eoin.
Jeez. Now I'm going to have to work on my short game. I'm going to have to get a pitching wedge. It's a whole thing, you know. All right. I guess I've got a few years to get good at golf now.
Yeah, I better see you in the next competition.
That's right. But I'm going to have a tough time beating if he comes back. Mike Andrews, who put in a great performance. Like I said, one of the first times he's able to compete. And he was able to conquer the course and a little bit of Mother Nature as well in terms of it was a windy day on Monday. So that wreaked a little bit of havoc on some of the greens, some of the holes where it was more open landscape. But he was able to do it, shot a tremendous 76 round, which I believe is just 4 over par. And again, that was just a great round for him. I had a chance to speak with him on that. How important it was to come back to the community, even though he's now based out of Winnipeg. If I remember right, the Southwood Golf and Country Club out of Winnipeg is primarily where he plays now. And it was great to see so many people participate in this event. It's one of the more popular events each and every year for the Neepawa Golf and Country Club. Wonderful to see it was continue that tradition. So congratulations to Mike on that. And congratulations to Neepawa Golf and Country Club for putting on another great one. Let's stay on the greens. Let's stay in there in terms of another story. Hayden Delaloy, who we've talked about many a time, a rising up-and-coming star in the provincial golf scene. He was participating last weekend, actually late last week, in the Manitoba the Manitoba Junior Golf Championship. And he did very well. I mean, he came in strong. It's a 3-day event. The third and final day, he was able to shoot very well and jump up a couple places in the overall standings. There's about 55, 56 players who participate, and he ended up finishing 11th overall, just outside of the top 10, but still an amazing run. So congratulations to Hayden. We always appreciate and love sort of sharing those types of stories. It was a young man actually based out of Thailand, the Golf Association, though, who ended up winning the event. He was the only one who shot under par. He shot a -1. So congratulations to that young man, a 14-year-old golf sensation. So hopefully we'll be able to sort of share some of that in the future as well. Well, that's pretty much it for this week's edition of the Banner Press. Casper, as always, great to have you on the show here.
Great to be here once again, and well, thank you all for joining us and sticking with us.
And again, we barely scratched the surface of what's in this week's paper. 20 jam-packed pages of information. If you have any story suggestions, you can always call us at 476-3401, the number we can be reached at, or via email at news@neepawabanner.com. It's always appreciated when you share some news stories with us or some pictures from events you know they're going on. It's always wonderful to be able for you to share it with us so that we can share it with you. Once again, thank you very much. Always appreciate your time. And tune in again next week right here on NAC TV and the story behind the stories.